Danielle Colby, the beloved star of American Pickers, has finally spoken out about the swirling rumors surrounding her former co-star Frank Fritz. Fans have speculated for years about the true nature of his departure from the hit History Channel show, fueling endless gossip about behind-the-scenes drama, personal struggles, and alleged feuds. While Mike Wolfe has addressed Frank's absence, Danielle has largely remained silent until now. In a candid and unexpected revelation, she sets the record straight, offering insight into their relationship, Frank's condition, and the future of American Pickers. What she has to say may shock even the most devoted fans. The story of American Pickers began long before its television debut in 2010. It was the brainchild of Mike Wolfe, a lifelong picker with a deep appreciation for vintage treasures. From a young age, Mike had a knack for spotting forgotten gems in people's barns, garages, and backyards, turning discarded items into valuable collectibles. He envisioned a show that would showcase this unique subculture, one where history could be uncovered through the items people left behind. To bring his vision to life, Mike needed a partner. That is where Frank Fritz came in. The two had been childhood friends growing up in Davenport, Iowa, sharing a passion for antiques and collectibles. While Mike had a keen business sense, Frank had an eye for rusty gold, motorcycles, signs, old toys, and rare memorabilia. Their contrasting styles complemented each other, making them an ideal team for the show. Together, they traveled across America, knocking on doors, digging through old sheds, and uncovering pieces of forgotten history. However, American Pickers was not just about the guys on the road. It needed a strong anchor back at home. Enter Danielle Colby. With her bold personality, vast knowledge of vintage items, and sharp negotiation skills, she became the backbone of the operation. Working at Antique Archaeology, the store that served as the Picker headquarters, Danielle managed the business side of things while Mike and Frank were out in the field. She played a crucial role in researching leads, arranging deals, and ensuring that the store was stocked with their latest finds. When the History Channel picked up American Pickers, the trio became an instant hit. Their dynamic was fresh and engaging. Mike was the enthusiastic risk-taker, Frank the skeptical but knowledgeable collector, and Danielle the edgy tattooed manager who kept everything running smoothly. The chemistry between them felt authentic, and audiences were drawn to their camaraderie, humor, and shared love for uncovering America's hidden treasures. At its core, American Pickers was about more than just antiques. It was about storytelling. Every item had a history, and every stop on their journey introduced viewers to fascinating people with incredible stories. The show's success proved that there was an audience for this kind of adventure, and Mike, Frank, and Danielle became household names almost overnight. But while American Pickers thrived on screen, the off-screen reality was not always as smooth. As the years went by, cracks began to form in the once-tight bond between Mike, Frank, and Danielle. What started as a simple picking business grew into a massive television empire, and with success came challenges that would eventually lead to heartbreak, controversy, and ultimately Frank's departure. When American Pickers premiered on the History Channel on January 18, 2010, it quickly became one of the network's biggest hits. Viewers were drawn to the show's unique concept, two lifelong friends traveling across America in search of forgotten treasures hidden in barns, attics, and junkyards. But more than that, they were captivated by the chemistry between Mike Wolfe, Frank Fritz, and Danielle Colby. Their interactions felt natural, their love for antiques was genuine, and their ability to uncover fascinating stories made each episode an exciting journey through history. Mike and Frank were the faces of the show, but they brought completely different personalities to the table. Mike was the enthusiastic and charismatic leader, always willing to take risks and negotiate tough deals. He had a deep knowledge of the picking world and a relentless drive to find the best items. Frank, on the other hand, played the role of the skeptical but experienced collector. He was an expert in vintage toys, oil cans, and signs, and his no-nonsense approach balanced out Mike's energetic personality. Fans loved their friendly banter, whether it was about prices, the condition of an item, or who got the better deal. Then there was Danielle. While she was not on the road like Mike and Frank, she played an essential role in the show's success. As the manager of Antique Archaeology, she kept the business running smoothly, tracked down leads, and often surprised fans with her deep knowledge of collectibles. With her striking appearance, tattoos, and edgy personality, Danielle stood out in the world of antiques, making her a fan favorite in her own right. The show's appeal was not just about finding valuable items. It was about uncovering history. Every object had a story, and American Pickers made sure to highlight the people behind the antiques. Whether it was a retired race car driver selling memorabilia from his past or an elderly couple parting with a collection of vintage signs, Mike and Frank treated their discoveries with respect and curiosity. This emotional connection to history set American Pickers apart from other reality shows, making it more than just a series about buying and selling. Over the years, the show's success led to spin-offs, international versions, and even celebrity guest appearances. It was not uncommon for famous collectors, car enthusiasts, or musicians to make cameos, eager to share their own love of vintage finds. The show became more than a hobby for Mike, Frank, and Danielle. It became a full-fledged cultural phenomenon. However, as the popularity of American Pickers grew, so did the pressure. With an increasing workload, constant travel, and mounting expectations, tension started to rise behind the scenes. While viewers saw a tight-knit trio on television, the reality was far more complicated. For Frank, who was already struggling with personal and health issues, the fame and stress of the show would soon take a heavy toll. On screen, American Pickers showcased a tight-knit team of friends with a shared passion for unearthing forgotten treasures. However, behind the scenes, the relationships between Mike Wolfe, Frank Fritz, and Danielle Colby were far more complex than they appeared. While their bond was rooted in years of working together, the pressures of fame, business demands, and personal struggles gradually drained their connection. At the heart of the show was the friendship between Mike and Frank. Having known each other since childhood, they had spent decades picking together before landing their TV deal. Their contrasting personalities made for great television. Mike was the ambitious go-getter, always pushing forward, while Frank was the more cautious and practical counterpart. But as the show's success skyrocketed, their friendship began to shift. Mike took on more of a leadership role, not just as the face of American Pickers but also as its executive producer. This gave him more control over the show's direction, which some believe contributed to a growing divide between him and Frank. Meanwhile, Danielle played an interesting role in their dynamic as the glue that held antique archaeology together. She worked closely with both men, handling logistics, negotiations, and research. While she had a deep respect for both Mike and Frank, she was often caught in the middle of their occasional disagreements. Unlike them, Danielle was not just an antique expert. She had other interests outside the picking world, including burlesque dancing and fashion. This sometimes made her an outsider in the more male-dominated picking culture, though she always made sure her voice was heard. Over time, rumors of tension between Frank and Mike became more noticeable. Fans started to pick up on subtle changes, Frank appearing less frequently in promotional materials. Fewer playful interactions between the two and an overall shift in the show's dynamic led some to speculate that Frank was being pushed to the side as Mike became more involved in expanding the American Pickers brand. However, neither of them openly addressed any behind-the-scenes issues at the time. One key moment that hinted at deeper problems was when Frank began taking longer breaks from filming. While the official explanation was that he was dealing with personal health issues, many wondered if there was more to the story. As time went on, it became increasingly clear that Frank's role in American Pickers was diminishing. Danielle, who remained close with both men, chose to stay silent rather than take sides. Their personal relationships, once rooted in years of shared experiences, were slowly being tested. The pressures of reality television, business expansion, and personal struggles would soon come to a head, leading to a major turning point for the show. As American Pickers continued to grow in popularity, Frank Fritz faced a series of personal challenges that would significantly impact both his role on the show and his personal life. Behind the scenes, Frank was dealing with health issues that had been quietly affecting him for years. One of the biggest struggles Frank faced was Crohn's disease, a chronic inflammatory bowel condition he had been battling since his early 20s. Although he rarely discussed it in detail on American Pickers, he occasionally mentioned how it affected his ability to travel and work long hours on the road. Crohn's disease can cause severe pain, fatigue, and weight loss, and fans noticed fluctuations in Frank's appearance throughout the show's run. At one point, his dramatic weight loss even sparked concerns among viewers, leading him to publicly address his health struggles in an effort to stop the speculation. In addition to Crohn's disease, Frank struggled with alcohol-related issues, which would later play a major role in his departure from American Pickers. His drinking habits reportedly became a concern among those close to him, and he eventually checked himself into rehab in an effort to regain control over his life. In a candid interview, Frank later admitted to spending time in an Iowa-based treatment center where he worked on overcoming his addiction. He was proud of his sobriety journey and expressed hope that he could return to the show once he was back on his feet. However, his time away from American Pickers created an even greater divide between him and Mike Wolfe. While Frank took a step back to focus on his health, Mike continued to expand the show and the American Pickers brand. By the time Frank was ready to return, it became clear that things were no longer the same. Adding to his troubles, Frank also experienced personal losses. He went through a difficult breakup with his longtime girlfriend, which only deepened his emotional struggles. The combination of his health issues, personal setbacks, and professional uncertainty created a storm of challenges that would ultimately push him further away from the show that had made him a household name. Despite his struggles, Frank remained hopeful that he could make a comeback. He expressed his desire to reunite with Mike and Danielle and continue doing what he loved, picking antiques and uncovering hidden treasures. But while Frank held on to hope, the reality behind the scenes was much more complicated. His health and personal battles had altered the course of his career, and his future with American Pickers was now hanging by a thread. As Frank Fritz's health struggles continued, his absence from American Pickers became more pronounced. At first, fans believed he was taking a temporary break to focus on his recovery. However, as new episodes aired without him and Mike Wolfe took on a more dominant role, speculation grew that Frank's time on the show had come to an end. For years, Frank had been an integral part of the American Pickers team. His deep knowledge of antiques, his eye for vintage signs and oil cans, and his humorous banter with Mike made him a fan favorite. However, as his health and personal battles took a toll, his relationship with Mike became strained. While Frank still hoped to return, it became increasingly clear that the show was moving forward without him. In July 2021, after much speculation, the History Channel officially announced that Frank would not be returning to American Pickers. The news disappointed many longtime fans who had grown attached to his dynamic with Mike. However, the most shocking part was not just Frank's exit but his reaction to it. Shortly after the announcement, Frank spoke out publicly, expressing his frustration over how things had been handled. He revealed that he had not spoken to Mike in nearly 2 years, suggesting that their once close friendship had completely deteriorated. Frank claimed that he felt abandoned by Mike and that the show had moved on without giving him a fair chance to return. His words hinted at a deep sense of betrayal, as he had expected more support from his longtime friend. Fans were divided over the situation. Some sided with Frank, believing he had been unfairly pushed out of the show, while others understood that American Pickers had to continue moving forward with or without him. Regardless of the differing opinions, it was clear that Frank's departure marked a major turning point for the series. The chemistry that had made the show a success was no longer the same, and the absence of Frank left a noticeable gap. Danielle Colby, who had remained close with both men, largely stayed out of the drama. However, she later spoke about how difficult it was to see her colleagues go their separate ways. She emphasized that she cared deeply for both Mike and Frank and hoped that, in time, they could mend their relationship. But the damage had been done. American Pickers continued without Frank, and while the show still had a loyal audience, many fans could not shake the feeling that something was missing. Meanwhile, Frank's life after the show remained uncertain as he continued to battle health issues and work toward personal recovery. Little did anyone know, however, that the story was far from over, and soon, even more heartbreaking news would shake the American Pickers community. As speculation about Frank Fritz's exit from American Pickers continued, fans eagerly awaited a response from Danielle Colby. Known for her loyalty and strong presence on the show, Danielle had always been the bridge between Mike Wolfe and Frank. However, as tensions mounted and rumors swirled, she finally broke her silence, offering a heartfelt but carefully worded statement about the situation. "I am truly saddened for the loss of Frank on the show," Colby shared. "I am incredibly sad for his struggles. I have personally watched everything over the last decade. I have many thoughts but will not speak them, as they are only my thoughts, not gospel. I wish things could have been different, but we must be accountable for our actions when we cause instability or pain and suffering to others." Her words, though compassionate, hinted at the deeper issues behind Frank's departure. She acknowledged that while it was difficult to watch her longtime friend struggle, personal accountability played a major role in the decisions that led to his absence from the show. It was a rare moment of candidness, one that confirmed what many fans had suspected. Frank's challenges extended beyond just his health issues. "Frank caused so much pain for himself that it has been hard to watch," Colby continued. "I truly hope Frank receives all the help he needs to become well after years of being unwell. It is not my place to speak ill of someone who needs help, so I will keep my comments uplifting. I am sending love to everyone." Her statement reflected both concern and a sense of detachment. While she clearly cared for Frank and wanted to see him recover, it was also apparent that his struggles had taken a toll on those around him. Unlike Frank's own comments, which expressed frustration and a sense of betrayal, Danielle's words seemed to suggest a more resigned acceptance of the situation. Colby also stressed that she was speaking out to prevent tabloids from twisting her words or making assumptions on her behalf. "The only reason I am speaking to this right now is because everybody is speculating on my words, and my words are being taken out of context in tabloid rags because they cannot interview me since I will not interview with a tabloid rag," she wrote. So if you want to know how I feel, here is exactly how I feel. I hope everybody gets well. I hope everybody continues to love each other even through the hard moments. Her message was clear. She was not taking sides, but she also was not going to ignore the reality of the situation. It was an acknowledgement of the pain and difficulty that came with watching a close friend struggle while also reinforcing the idea that growth and healing were ultimately in Frank's hands. For fans of American Pickers, Danielle's words provided a rare glimpse into the emotional toll Frank's departure had taken on those who worked closely with him. Though she wished him well, it was evident that his struggles had created deep wounds, ones that might never fully heal. Frank Fritz speaks out about his fallout with Mike Wolfe. For years, American Pickers had been built on the dynamic partnership between Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz. Their chemistry was a huge part of the show's success, with Mike often leading negotiations while Frank specialized in finding hidden gems. However, after Frank's departure, it became clear that their friendship had suffered serious cracks, ones that, according to Frank, had been forming for quite some time. In a rare and candid interview, Frank finally addressed the rumors surrounding his exit and his strained relationship with Mike. His words carried a sense of disappointment and frustration, revealing just how disconnected the two former co-stars had become. "I have not talked to Mike in 2 years," Frank admitted. "He knew my back was messed up, but he did not call me up and ask how I was doing. That is just how it is." The revelation shocked fans, as many had assumed that despite Frank's absence from the show, he and Mike still maintained some form of communication. But Frank's words suggested otherwise. Not only had they not spoken in years, but he felt abandoned during a time when he was struggling with health issues. While Frank did not go into specific details about why he was removed from the show, he made it clear that he felt sidelined. "I was in second place on American Pickers," he stated bluntly. For those who had followed the show from the beginning, this statement was a surprising contrast to how things had once been. Early on, American Pickers had showcased Mike and Frank as equals, two best friends traveling across America, sharing a passion for antiques. But over time, fans noticed that Mike seemed to take a more prominent role while Frank's appearances became less frequent. His words now confirmed what many had suspected. He had felt like he was being pushed aside. Mike, for his part, also spoke out after Frank's comments, though his response carried a far more nostalgic and diplomatic tone. "I have known Frank for as long as I can remember. He has been like a brother to me," Mike wrote. "The journey that Frank, Danielle, and I started back in 2009, like all of life, has come with its highs and lows, blessings and challenges, but it has also been the most rewarding." Mike's statement suggested that, at least on his end, he still held appreciation for what they had built together. However, he did not directly address Frank's claims of being left behind or feeling like second place. His words painted a picture of gratitude rather than regret, leaving some fans wondering if he truly understood the depth of Frank's frustration. The fallout between Mike and Frank marked a sad turning point for American Pickers and its longtime fans. What had once been a story of two best friends chasing their passion had now become a tale of distance, misunderstandings, and unspoken tensions. Though Frank still held on to hope that he might one day return to the show, the growing divide between him and Mike made that possibility seem more unlikely with each passing day. The tragic passing of Frank Fritz. For years, fans of American Pickers had followed Frank Fritz's journey, from his early days on the show to his personal struggles and eventual departure. Many had hoped he would find his way back to television, or at the very least that he would reconcile with Mike Wolfe and his former colleagues. However, the news that broke in September 2024 left fans in shock. Frank Fritz had passed away. Frank's health had been a concern for some time. He had openly discussed his battle with Crohn's disease, and after his departure from American Pickers, he faced additional health complications, including a stroke in July 2022. The stroke left him in a vulnerable state, requiring extended medical care and rehabilitation. Reports at the time indicated that he was struggling with his recovery, but fans hoped he would eventually regain his strength. Unfortunately, Frank's condition worsened in the months leading up to his passing. While details surrounding his final days remained private, those close to him confirmed that he had never fully recovered from the stroke. His health struggles, compounded by years of personal battles, had taken a significant toll. The announcement of his passing sent shockwaves through the American Pickers community. Fans, former colleagues, and friends shared their grief, reflecting on the impact Frank had on both the show and their lives. Many remembered him as the down-to-earth, humorous, and knowledgeable picker who had an undeniable passion for antiques. Even those who had lost touch with him over the years could not deny the lasting impression he had left. One of the most anticipated responses was from Mike Wolfe. Given their fallout, many wondered how Mike would react to the news of his former friend's passing. When he finally broke his silence, his words were filled with sorrow and reflection. Losing Frank marked the end of an era for American Pickers and its devoted fan base. Though he had been absent from the show for years, his presence had never truly faded in the hearts of those who had followed his journey. His legacy as one of the original Pickers, with his keen eye for treasures and his undeniable charm, would live on. As tributes poured in, it became clear that despite the hardships and conflicts, Frank Fritz had left a lasting impact. His journey may have been filled with challenges, but in the world of picking, he will always be remembered as one of the greats. Frank Fritz's journey, from co-founding American Pickers to his struggles and tragic passing, was filled with highs and lows. While his fallout with Mike Wolfe and his personal battles overshadowed his later years, fans will always remember him for his humor, passion for antiques, and undeniable impact on the show. His legacy as an original picker lives on, reminding us of the friendships, challenges, and triumphs that shaped his life. As we reflect on Frank's story, what are your favorite memories of him on American Pickers? Share your thoughts and tributes in the comments below. See you next time.